Master Your Mindset Radio, episode 64.
Welcome to Master Your Mindset Radio, the show where we empower you to conquer limiting beliefs and transform your world with your gifting and purpose. Now for your host, Elizabeth Nader.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode. I am so honored today to have a new friend that I have made, which is just so exciting. Catherine Toon. She is an amazing individual. If you guys were part of the Flatten Your Fear Summit, you heard from Catherine. She is an author, a speaker, a minister, a doctor. I should be saying Dr. Catherine Toon, actually, but just someone who has such a unique way of helping people understand who they are in God, that they are loved, and that they can deal with the issues that keep them from understanding their purpose. And so I just want to welcome to the podcast, Catherine. Thank you so much for being here.
Well, I am honored and I'm excited. It's always a joy, Elizabeth, to just connect with lighthearted people. And it's an honor. Thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely. We definitely established a connection. I love that when that happens. And I just really admire what you're doing and your unique way of bringing hope to people. And, God's that way, right? He develops and creates us so uniquely and specifically. And when you're able to find that, and I think that's everyone's heart cry is, what is my purpose? But when you're able to find it and operate in it, there's nothing better, right?
Oh, absolutely. Everything comes together. There's a seamlessness, there's a grace on it, there's a flow, even when you're, facing difficulty. But yeah, it's really the only way to go. And absolutely. So connecting with who God is, who he made you to be, and how that translates in your purpose, in that order is how everything works together. Otherwise, we're kind of hopping around. You kind of connect a little bit here, but it doesn't really work. You connect a little bit there, but it doesn't really work. But it really all comes together when you operate from knowing who God is, knowing who you are, and then having your purpose revealed and walking in that.
Well, that is really a good summary, I think, of what you have gone through in your life. And I remember from, the summit this summer and you telling your story of really going on that journey of striving and going in one direction and then realizing that wasn't really where you were supposed to be. So let's back up, because not everybody knows your background and knows your story. And I think it's really important to understand. It will help a lot of people in their own discovery. So take us back to who Catherine is and your journey to get to where you are today.
Absolutely. Thank you. Well, I wasn't born in a church home. Very much academics was how we focused value. There was a lot of mess in the household. So that made things very confusing. And so very early on, there was a lie that was instilled in my heart. Your value is in what you do. So I made a vow at a very early age, actually age 7, to become a physician. I thought, what's the hardest thing I can do? If that's my value, I'm going to do that. So in my little 7-year-old brain, I thought physician. So fast forward 20 plus years. That did come to pass. I did it well. I did it with an Ivy League school with all the bells and whistles. Really loved my patients, loved the intellectual challenge, but everything else, it was a grind. And as I started to sort of continue to move forward, I awakened to who Jesus was in my life. That was restored. And I started to get the idea that, wow, this is really not my heart. Mm-hmm. And so eventually I retired, came home to be with my children to start raising that. And then the Lord called me into ministry. And that's when things started to converge. You hear about convergence with all my gifts and talents, with my heart to minister, which was really reflected in what I was doing as a physician in a different arena. And then just what was on my heart, as well as getting healed from all the mess that happened growing up, etc. So it kind of converged together in that. And so big things for me was realizing who God really is, versus maybe some of the ways that I had been. I'd gone through my filters and just faulty teachings and things like that, realizing who I really was, which was a big part of the healing process. And then automatically purpose falls into place.
Yeah,
and then
does.
You start to fire on all cylinders.
Yeah, I love that progression because I think it's just one that while the details are different, everyone at some point in their life, if they're pursuing purpose and pursuing God, they'll go through that. But what's interesting about your story is it wasn't as though you were repeatedly failing or not finding success in the career you had chosen. And I think we expect that if it's not purpose, we'll know that because there's no success. Well, there was success, but it didn't have that deeper meaning for you. And you definitely could have stayed there. You could have continued to succeed. You did all the right things. You were good at it, right? It was an aspect of your gifts and talents that God had given you, but it wasn't the full picture. And you talk about this lie you had about performance. And so did you feel as though with the career you had chosen, it was a striving versus something that was easy? And again, success was there, but it's different how you experience it, right?
Absolutely. And, as I said, there were components of it that were a match and that really had life on it. That was not a striving.
Yeah.
The intellectual component is wonderful. I love that. The caring for people and ministering to people as however you would put that, was definitely there. Everything else was not. So that was a striving and it was a misfit. And the longer I continued, the more it was a drain, the more it was a push, the more it was a grind, and the more I really started to hate it. Not my patience, but just I was just doing the wrong thing. And so absolutely. So whenever we're driven by performance, it will be a strive. It will be a grind. We are called to perform, but it's from a place of rest. It's from a place of identity. And so with that, it carries a grace and a momentum and a joy and a freedom and a context that whatever the trials you're pushing against and all that kind of stuff, they have context and it has meaning. And so you wake up in the morning, it's like, yes, this is what I'm supposed to do.
Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And let me quote you to you because I went back and watched a little bit of our interview because I really loved it so much. And it actually helped me a lot. And you said something so great, which is that God dictates seasons. And you said when you're operating in the season you're supposed to be, right? He dictates those seasons. It's not that he doesn't want you to do something, it's just timing. And you said there is a zing on the season that you are in, and it's and also that it's not that you won't be pushed in that season, but or stretched, I should say, but there's a difference between being stretched and being pushed. So talk about seasons and what you mean by that, because I hear so many people feel like, I'm behind, or I should be doing this, or they have a vision for their life, but it's not happening right now. And they get uncomfortable, or they feel like they need to step on the gas, and they sort of, start to push something that maybe isn't the time. It's not that the vision is wrong, it's the timing. So talk about seasons.
Oh, absolutely. Well, when you're in the right season, there's a grace on it so that you're not driven, but you're motivated and moving forward. So usually when you feel, and I can so relate with this concept of I'm so behind.
Yeah.
And so what's driving that is fear. Like, I will not be able to accomplish, I will not be able to do. And the Lord is, one of the things that amazes me about the Lord just relationally is he's actually really relaxed.
Yeah, I love that.
Right? If he's love, that means he's anti-fear. He's not driven by fear. It's not that he's not aware of the problems and the pains and the tragedies and the horrific things that happen. It's just that he's so masterful at being able to redeem everything that the process of unfolding and him wooing the human heart rather than controlling the human heart is something that takes time. And so he's interested in our growth process and our relational process. And it's out of that process of growth and intimacy that we're able to move seamlessly to the next step.
Yeah.
And so God is well able to redeem time. Any place that, you feel like you're behind. I started out in this relatively behind in ministry. I didn't really start full time on my own till my 50s.
Yeah.
And so, but I also realized that everything converges together. And so I've trusted him with everything that I've gone through and sort of false starts and things like that led up to the culmination, and it carries its own momentum. So you trust the Lord in the beginning, you trust the Lord in the middle, and you trust the Lord to complete that which he's called you to.
Yeah.
So you can rest in that because it's an issue of relationship. And with that, he will take you through seasons. I was in ministry for a very long period of time, but really hidden and serving under someone else's ministry. And it was very frustrating and whatever, but there was things in me that had to be shored up. There was a developmental process, and I'm so grateful for that time. At the time, I didn't appreciate it.
Yeah, right.
But right. But in retrospect, I am so grateful because that actually gives me a solidness.
Yeah.
And just an ability to be very sure in what I'm doing, even if the specific details aren't, completely enlightened, right? So absolutely. So there are definite seasons, and God is the one. He's into your development. And this is a relational thing, because if you're not enough where you're at, you will not be enough where you're going. And so you start off with being enough, and then are unveiled in your purpose in a manifestation of the fact that you already are enough.
Wow.
You already are your father's daughter, your father's son. You already are all of that, and it's the unveiling of that displays that in whatever pursuit you are pursuing.
This is such an important thing. I just want to camp here a little bit longer, because I know people listening, everyone sort of shares this in common at some point in their life, that frustration of where they are versus where they want to be, and understanding and valuing the process that they're in, and understanding that God is in fact involved in each step. And we want to get to somewhere that we have the vision, and God is a vision creator, right? He's a dreamer. I mean, he's all about that. And I love that, because I think, the Bible says without visions, my people perish. I'm paraphrasing, but that's basically what it is. You need the vision.
Absolutely.
Write the vision down so people can run with it, all of that. So he believes in visions. He believes in dreams. He's definitely that. It can be frustrating when you have that vision and you believe it's from him and you have that dream, yet you feel stuck. So to people that are there right now, is it about learning the lessons where they're at? Is it about honing their skills? Is it about, do they continue to strive and push towards that vision, or do they just back off and ask God, what do you want me to do now to get closer to it? Or I mean, what best advice can you give? Because it's probably one of the most frustrating things when people feel like they're in a holding pattern. But I don't believe you ever really are. I think there's something always going on.
Absolutely. And so all of that is in the context of your relationship with God, because if he's the dreamer, he is the one that placed that dream in your heart, and he is the one to help bring that dream to pass in a way that you want it to bring it to pass. And I've been involved in ministries with incredible vision, but unfortunately, because the vision was so great that maybe you fudge kind of the means to the end, and it's not worth it. It's just not worth it. And so you get it all. And so in the process of your development and what you need to be developed in character, what needs to be developed in skill sets, what needs to be developed in relationships, what needs to be developed in external factors that can hold the vision, whatever that is, and entrusting that to the Lord. If he's the author of it, then he's the finisher of it. And so, it's like, Jesus, you started it, you get to finish it, and I get to partner with you in that process. So retreating back to the place, if you're grinding, back up. Anytime I get out of rest, I put the brakes on and sort of retreat back. it's like, Lord, what are we doing? Where have I missed it? What am I focusing on? Is there a fear that's driving me? Is there, what needs to happen here? It's in that place of relationship where he's able to outline, what's the process?
Yeah.
What are we actually doing here? Because God is after the whole enchilada. He's
Right.
after the vision. He's after you in the vision. He's after people connected with the vision. He's after everything. He's after the ways of being gracious in the midst of, the vision. We're talking, we're in the middle of an election process that is crazy. And so
Painful.
right, painful. So what are you doing in the midst of this?
Yeah.
So sometimes we get true setbacks and sometimes we get true resistance, but what's going on in the midst of it? Because God is always the one to champion his kids, and there's always an upgrade on the other side. And so it's not just the vision at all costs. It's the vision in relationship with the one who is the visionary. And the one who is the visionary, Father God, is the one in you that you are partnering with to release something on the earth realm that has eternal implications.
Wow.
And so how you go about it and who you become in the process is every bit as important as the end result, right? The journey is every bit as important as the end result. And if you get to your end result and you had to compromise and you had to do and all of that, and you start to rationalize, it's really not worth it, because there's something inside of you that says, wait a second, this is not who I am, and this is not who I'm called to be. So all of it matters, and you get every bit of it. And the other thing is, God is also a generational God. So he's in for the long game.
Right.
We may think we want to be a millionaire by 30 or whatever.
Right.
Whole lifetime that you have to live, and then there's a generational component as well, that you carry something for the next generations as well. And so we are also interdependent, person to person and generation to generation. And when we're tracking on that, we are taking the long game perspective. So retreating back to that place where we're connecting with God, where we're hearing from God, what's going on here? Where does this fit in the perspective of where we're heading? What are you doing in this process, in me, through me, with the people around me, developing other people? There's so many things that need to come together, that really God is the master planner, is the one to bring it to pass and upgrade us in the process.
That is amazing. That the picture you paint is amazing, and I'm so glad I'm not in charge of that or expected to be, because really, right? You think about it. God isn't focused on time, right? He's timeless. Yet we are so time focused, and he's eternal focused, and we are here and now focused. And if we can shift more to the way he thinks, and we have a role to play in this bigger tapestry, and that changes the pressure that we feel, that changes the expectations, that gives us a view very slightly through his eyes of the entire picture.
Absolutely. And, that's why I'm always praying from Ephesians 1, where he would enlighten the eyes of our understanding, because I realize my ability to grasp the full picture is limited, but there are things that he wants to reveal in the process. And we have to recognize that first and foremost, he's a relational God. God is love, and that's just intrinsically relational. And in the place where that's relational, that means the end objective of whatever we're doing is in the context of love, to do lovely things in the vision. To help build people up and actually contribute. Our highest contribution is going to come from the place of where we're tracking with who we are, tracking with who he is, and then we're just releasing that in whatever we're doing, and that will be our highest contribution. And that's a lifetime pursuit.
Right.
So it's we have such a worship of youth. It's just, and youth is great. It's all great, and so is middle age, and so is old age. There are things in each of those seasons that are breathtaking and
Yes.
have an incredible contribution. But as you move forward in your process, your contribution expands. And so we don't need to be afraid or feel like we're dwindling in our voice, because eternal things are simply eternal things. And
Right.
God will take advantage of every single, reversal you've had. He will take advantage of every stupid thing that you've done,
Yes.
redeem all those things. And just miscalculations and all of this. He's able to redeem all of that and bring out something greater in the process. He's masterful at that. And so as we can just start to relax in the process,
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
process. And, that gives us peace, that gives us context. And, when we're not panicking, when we're not reactive, when we're not offended, we're able to see things and speak into things with a wisdom that lifts everybody up. The water level comes up, goes up higher for everybody.
I love it. This is so valuable. Now, one of the things that is hard for people to grasp, and I think we all go through this when something isn't working, when there's resistance. The question is this where I'm supposed to be? And the resistance there is from my enemy, and it's because I'm supposed to be there, right? Or
Mm-hmm.
did I choose the wrong path and this isn't working because I'm not supposed to be there? I mean, this is kind of the ongoing thing I think that people struggle with, because those of us that understand, or at least try to grasp, our process of developing in God and developing our gifts and talents and pursuing our purpose, we know that it's not about the easy path, right? It's in fact, if you're on an easy road, sometimes that may be the wrong road.
Exactly.
But how do you determine when do you decide that I made a wrong turn here, or wow, I'm going to keep pushing because this resistance is pointing to the fact that this needs to happen. So I'm not going to change course. I know you don't have the absolute answer, but I know in your wisdom and experience, you've learned some things there. So how would you coach people to make that determination?
Absolutely. Thank you. That's such a great question. And I think sometimes we want kind of like a one-off answer.
Yeah.
And really there isn't, but there are answers. So let me help in the midst of no one-off answers.
Yeah. Right.
So because God is relational, okay, there are times in that relationship where we realize that we're grinding, and it's a grind, and it is an external grind. It is something that we're pushing against because we're running into a ceiling. We're running into people who are not operating according to godly agendas that are creating resistance.
Right.
There are things coming at us that are external, that are against the purposes of God. And that is a push through. I mean, that's why we're called to be champions. And that means if you're a champion, that means you have something to overcome.
Right.
And that doesn't mean that's not God. And so sometimes a closed door will mean, no, that's something we need to push through. We need to pray. We need to do something or other. And then sometimes a closed door is simply, wow, that is actually, I'm not supposed to go there. And there is one way you find that out, and that is discernment. And discernment is in the context of your relationship with God, because there's something in the way that God leads us that is really infallible. And that infallibleness is that inner peace.
Yes.
So the Word of God says, let peace be the umpire of your heart, sifting and deciding all things with finality, with finality. And so when you have a closed door, when you have resistance, and you sort of retreat back to your internal relationship with the Lord, and you rest there, you let all the upset, you let that go by the wayside. You just rest past that, and you let all the fear, and you rest past that. I put rest past that because it takes a while to connect with your spirit, who honestly is not freaking out.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Good. That's good. That's good.
Right. Okay. So understand we have emotions, and that is okay. You are wired that way. God has emotions, but they don't make good dictators. Okay. So in terms of how we're being led. And so as you're sinking into that place of peace, which is your place with the Lord, you will know if your spirit is discomfited, if your spirit is restful, it's like, no, wait a second. Yeah, no, I really am supposed to do this. You reconnect with your eternal purpose. And so that's a place that means I need to push through. Okay.
Right.
If you go into that place and you're like, I just really don't feel it. And you may have everything around you with open door, open door, open door, open door. And you're, but wait a second, this is not right. You know, my whole marriage, every little indicator was a red flag. But we knew in our heart of hearts that this was a God thing. And so 25 plus years later, this totally was a God thing. So we were led by that. And I'm not saying there is a place for wisdom, but this is a greater wisdom. This is an eternal wisdom. So it's not that you ignore the red flags, or you take the red flags with you and you say, okay, Lord, where are we with this? And you're like, wait a second, this really is you.
Yeah.
And in that, and that is practicing, that you practice that. But every person is able to connect with God if they'll just allow themselves to settle, and that it's going to be okay. I don't have to make decisions with my hair on fire, and I don't have to make decisions that, you know, I've got to get this done now, or I'm going to die, you know, or I'm going to grow old and I won't accomplish the vision, and all of these things. It's if you can't accomplish this with God, it is not worth accomplishing. Right. And so just resting that, and he's the one to elevate it. He can make up for lost time, and he can lead you to overcome every closed door, all of those things, because God is so masterful. It's like the door is closed. Well, we'll just go some other direction. He is just masterful in his creative. We'll just create a new door. I mean, he is absolutely able to do that, but he doesn't want us operating from a place of fear. He doesn't want us operating from a place of, there are definite, horrible things that are happening that need to be addressed.
Right.
But your place of peace with the Lord is saying there is a way to address that deliberately. There is a way to address that with integrity. There is a way to address that is actually an overcoming, transcendent avenue that the Lord does his quote unquote zing on. There's a zing on it, because this is not just me. No, this is not just me and my own personal intellect and my ability to calculate and what all the polls say or whatever say. No, this is me and the Lord that transcends every bit of that.
Right.
So in that space, I'm partnering with him.
Yeah. And I think one of the things that you continue to say, whether directly or indirectly, and we're going to talk about your books here because they're just so helpful in this regard, is that knowing him is a big part of this, understanding his character and having a relationship with him. If you don't develop a close relationship with someone by spending time with them, you don't understand them, right? I mean, if you don't spend time with your spouse, then you don't really have an understanding of that person, and therefore your relationship doesn't work as easily, and that has all kind of implications. So I think one of the things that you bring, besides just so much wisdom and so much of a way to connect with people and help them understand who God is, but specifically encouraging people to see God correctly and encouraging them to get the healing they need so they can see him the way he really is, and that they can, in fact, speak to him and hear from him. And you have two of your books, actually all three of your books are like this, but two of your books specifically, Marked by Love and the newest one, How to Hear from God. Both of these to me were so encouraging to just basically get down to the basics of who he is, see him correctly, and understand that he is such a personal God and that I can hear from him, and he is all about love. So I want you to talk about each of those kind of as they relate to each other, those books, because I'm telling you, they are amazing. I think everybody should get a copy. Everybody should dive into these books and understand better who God really is, and there's healing through that. So let's talk about Marked by Love first. What is the premise of that book, and what do people learn once they're able to really understand what you're trying to get across there?
Thank you. So Marked by Love is really the culmination of 20 years of my journey. It's the shortcuts and the revelation that I received in my process, because honestly, I could perform very well, but I was a mess. And
Mm.
so I needed a lot of healing in order to see God correctly, because when you've been abused by people in authority, you project that. You
Right.
project that onto a God. And so it's very hard, particularly if it's a male and you're projecting it onto Father God,
Yep.
and all of that. And so, our brokenness, we create filters through which God is misrepresented, and those had to be healed,
Right.
for me. And so, marked by love, but my identity, because I had so much abuse and things happening growing up, I had a very shame based nature, and so I really had to have a reset on pretty much the whole enchilada. And so, um, a lot of the premise of it, who is God, and basically God is love, and what does that actually mean? Because we
Mm.
can say it, but if we're not tracking with it, it's just static, right?
Yeah.
It's just
Right.
whatever. Been there, heard that, yeah, whatever. uh, and in that context, who am I? Because if I'm created in the image of likeness of a God who is love, what does that say for who I am? And then what does that say for what I'm supposed to do? So, Marked by Love is very much about unveiling who God really is.
Mm.
And then allowing you, I have love encounter breaks. So we're encountering God, who is the person of love. God is a person, and he is relational. And everything he does is relational, from a relational aspect, a starting point. And so, in that place where we do have filters, where for whatever reason, sometimes we're brought up in very legalistic churches that
Right.
creates devastating filters. Sometimes I was brought up in a very legalistic home that wasn't a church, that brought devastating. And then you have all this the stuff that happens that creates us. So in that place where we're engaging with the one, number one, who are you, God, and helping you in those love encounter breaks. Where is my shutdown? Where am I seeing you
Mm.
incorrectly? Where am I believing, yeah, you'll do your part, but then I just got to bust hump to do my part, and it's really on me, and you're burdened, and you're stressed, because you realize you don't have the capacity. But if you feel it's all on you, then you're just kind of in breakdown mode all the time.
Right.
All of those different things. So it's the premise of encountering God, who is love, and then helping you get past the places. Wow, this is my filter, this is my problem, and I'm having a really hard time hearing God here. Wherever your breakdown is, you're going to have a hard time connecting with God. And we need to understand that we're crafted uniquely to hear God in different ways. Hearing God isn't just a voice or an internal voice. It's all the different things that I actually talk about in my next book,
Right.
from a fuller standpoint. But it's really helping heal those places. And healing is not just, wow, I was abused and I'm hurt. Healing is also, I have these mindset limitations. So now I'm kind of getting into your arena, right?
Right.
What mindsets am I carrying that limit my ability to yada yada yada,
Right.
and helping us get past that, so you can take advantage of it to help walk you through in this relational aspect with God, who crafted you and knows exactly how he created you, who crafted you for a purpose and knows exactly what that purpose is, and to help you walk through that, and be able to really start tracking and really living life in a fulfilling, broader concept. And then, the other thing is that it also helps you just be able to open up your ability to connect in the spiritual realm, so that everything you do, you're doing in communion with God, even if
Mm.
it's not like prayer.
Right. Right.
So, right, because there's one thing, boy, when you're able to practice his presence and just realize, wow, you're here in the midst. So when I have this thing that's coming up, I can quickly, I have him, I joke, but I'm actually serious when I say I have him pick out my melons. Why? Because I don't want to sit there and thump every silly melon in the market. So it's like, Jesus, what are we doing? And it's practice. So if I hear wrong or whatever, it's kind of irrelevant because it's a melon.
Yeah, it's a
But
melon.
it's a way, right? But that I'm practicing, because if I care about it or you care about it, he cares about it. From everything from melons to your children, to your marriage, to your call, whatever that is, through your other calls and in more of a professional capacity, ministerial capacity, whatever, business capacity. He cares about all of it. And he cares about it in real time, right where you live. So the Marked by Love really helps you walk through that. I have a chapter that I call Freaky Rest, because it's all about how do we operate from rest. And when you're used to doing everything on your own and you're kind of a control freak, rest is a very scary concept, and that
Right.
actually needs to be healed.
Right.
And
Right.
so it's no way to live. It's no way to live. So anyway, so that's kind of the premise of Marked by Love. It takes you chapter by chapter in encounters with him to help you upgrade. And I've had ridiculous testimonies from people. And what's fun is now people, it's been a little while, it's been out for 2 years, now going back and saying, wow, I read it and this was great. But then I went back, it's like, whoa, it's really opened up to me again. So it's great. I go back there sometimes and I'm kind of stuck, and it helps walk me through, which tells me that this is not just Catherine Toon. Hallelujah. It is really
Amen. Isn't that the truth? Like, you, by the way, I agree with you wholeheartedly on that book. I mean, it's an amazing book and you can go back to it and back to it. And I always tell people with my book, I actually go back to it and it helps me, which I say the same thing you say. Thank God it wasn't me writing it, because it would be dead, and it's not. It actually continues to help me. And so I can relate to that. And so Marked by Love really helps you get the healing, point to where the healing needs to happen, see God correctly, understand he's personal, understand he's love. And your ability to do all that then parlays beautifully into the next book, which just came out this summer, which is your ability to hear from God, right? Because I think those wounds keep us from being able to hear him correctly. And one of the things I love about the How to Hear from God is you say something that's so profound and yet so simple, which you just mentioned a little bit ago, is that he talks to you the way you are wired. You hear from him uniquely the way that you are wired. And, we're also different from each other. But again, it speaks to he's such a personal God, right? He's so intentional in that relationship.
Absolutely. He is so personal. And the thing is, he's so wild about you. He's wild about the way he crafted you.
Yeah.
And because he crafted you uniquely, that means the way you hear from him. And I use the hear in quotations. So if you see my fingers right now, they'd be doing quotations.
Right.
It will be different. I mean, some people are here, they do actually have an internal voice. Some people are very visual. They'll get pictures, they'll get a video. Some people are very, it's very much in your knower, but I don't know how I know, I just know. Some people really connect with the heart of God. So they're sort of more emotional. And so their emotions, and I'm not talking about, this is different from how it was before. In your heart of hearts, you're feeling God's heart on things. Right. Some people are crafted, like my husband, as thinkers. And a lot of times they're the ones that say, I don't hear from God. Because God will literally think through them. So they're praying and whatever, and they're waiting for the words or the pictures that maybe someone else is getting, but God just puts a God thought in there. And it seems so not supernatural. It's a natural supernatural. Right. But if you allow yourself to sit with the thought, you're like, whoa, wait a second. Wow.
Yeah.
It has a heaviness and a glory on it. And so any way that you are wired is how I recommend that you start off with when you're sitting before the Lord, and you hold it loosely. The other thing that is really neat about it is that you can also expand as you're practicing connecting, and I call it connecting with the Lord, because then if you're not a hearer, it doesn't mess you up, right?
Right.
If you're practicing connecting with the Lord and just sensing his presence and learning his heart and how he operates, as you're practicing with that, other areas can start to open up. You have 5 natural senses. Well, you really do have 5 spiritual senses.
Yes.
And so there can be some more unusual ways that you'll connect with the Lord, and it's all great. You get that and that. You get it all. And so your relationship with the Lord and your ability to hear from him, quote unquote, becomes technicolor. Right. And so in everything that you do, you get a new hue. it helps you just fall in love with the Lord even more because he's more brilliant, more beautiful, more lovely, more humble. The word says, "Take my yoke upon you and learn of me, for I'm meek, humble, lowly at heart, and I will give you rest."
Mm.
What is he wanting us to track with? He's meek, humble, lowly. Listen, I'm here to serve you.
Yeah.
I'm here to serve you. How can I help? I'm the helper.
Wow.
And so we need help. We are created for this beautiful dependence on a God that loves to serve his kids.
Wow.
Right. And so so you start to develop confidence that's more than just you, more than just your giftings, which are all there, which he gave you, but it's about your relationship with God to back you up as you're flowing with him. And so that ability to hear and grow in your capacity to connect with God brings everything to light. And that's where you uncover, wow, maybe this door is just shut. And so what do? Well, God just creates a new door,
Yeah.
a window or something. Something happens, and I don't know what it's going to be. You don't know what it's going to be, but you know it's going to be something because God is called. Does he need to split a sea? What needs to happen here? And he's able to do that. And as he shows himself strong on your behalf over and over and over, your relationship and your confidence in him just grows, and you can operate from that place of rest when things are just coming against you, because one way or the other we win. We really do.
I love that.
Right. So we can just rest in that. So it looks really crappy right now, but wow, one way or the other, this is going to turn out good.
Yes.
And God is able to show himself strong there for you as you're able to practice connecting with him. So I wrote that specifically because I was just hearing from so many people, I don't hear God, or I can hear God for every place except my finances, or all of that. And he and the robustness of his relationship with us means it is just this open place for communication that doesn't it's very naturally supernatural. It doesn't have to look religious. You don't have to do jumping jacks. You don't have to fast and pray for 5 months. This is a relationship that is ongoing. So wherever your breakdown is, God is right there to help you get past it, even if your breakdown is you.
Yeah, even if your breakdown is you. And it doesn't have to be so difficult. I think when you start to know him better and know yourself better, then you understand, like you said, your husband figured out he's a thinker. So God was speaking to him. God speaks to me in metaphors all the time. And I think in growing our confidence and saying, hey, God showed me this. And people sort of, oh, God spoke to you. The more that we say that, no, he did. He did in small ways. And I think sometimes when we use that, God showed me this, or God spoke to me, people are sort of waiting for this, Moses moment, right? It doesn't have to be. It's that small voice sometimes, that whisper or that nudge. And I think the more we grow in our confidence, as you say, the more we acknowledge that he's speaking all the time. And I heard you, and we step out and we say that, and we give people the permission to do the same and to acknowledge that he speaks to all of us in the way that we are wired. And that allows us to understand ourselves better, which that alone is such a gift. When we see the unique way he made us, it just bolsters our confidence and gives us vision for our future, and it helps us love and accept ourselves as well, which we're not all good at loving and accepting ourselves because of our wounds. So I just have to tell you, your books are incredible, and you've been called the powerhouse of peace. I told you that the other day when I saw that. I highlighted it in the book. It was a review. I thought that's exactly what she is, and so much more. But in just listening to everything you said, and it comes so easy for you to see it all, you are bringing that uniqueness to the world and just disseminating peace and saying, it's okay. You can figure this out. You can get past this. You can see God correctly. You can hear from him. You can be victorious in your life. And I feel like in hearing you, I get this subliminal and not so subliminal message of it's going to be okay. And we all need that. So I honor you for that. It's an amazing gift.
Well, thank you, Elizabeth. That's beautiful. I so appreciate it.
It's true. It's true, Catherine. So I just want everyone to know, as we kind of wind it up, because I could just sit and listen to you for hours, but that wouldn't be fair to you. You have a life to lead and other people to help. But I know myself, I have been ministered to, as we're all on this journey to figure out our purpose and pursue it. and bring forth to this world for such a time as this, whatever we're meant to do. I want you to tell people, where to find your books. I mean, I know they're on Amazon, but talk about that. Talk about your website, how they can connect with you. You're live a lot on social media, and you offer so much. So can you just tell everybody the best way to connect with you?
Absolutely. Thank you. So if you go to CatherineToon.com, that's Catherine with a C, Toon as in cartoon, .com. CatherineToon.com. All of my resources are available there. If you for the books, you can find them on my website. You can go directly to Amazon if that works for you. I would just encourage you, go to my website. I have a lot of free things. I love to give, and I really encourage, take advantage. So I have a lot of free resources, downloads, all of my teachings and things that are on YouTube. You can connect with them through my website or go directly to YouTube. I am on social media quite a bit, so that's another way to do that. But yeah, take advantage. The more people take advantage of that stuff, the happier I get, because I realize that the impact is going further, and I just want to help people connect with God and connect with who they are. And it's amazing. Everything will flow from there.
It is so true. And I know you also travel and minister. Of course, that's all been upended a bit, but it will return, and you will be in front of more and more audiences as you used to be. So anyone who's listening who has that particular need, as that returns back to us, Catherine definitely, as you can hear, is an amazing person to sit down and listen to. So Catherine, listen, I am so blessed to have found you. It was definitely a God connection. You have really sown into my life, and I appreciate you for that. And I honor you for walking in your purpose, for doing all that you can to pursue it. And as it continues to unfold, I'm excited for the next book. I'm excited to hear more from you. And you've changed some lives today. And that's what it's all about. One by one, somebody out there is going to listen to this, and it's going to help them get that much closer in their relationship with God. And what's better than performing I don't want to use the word performing, but being in your purpose and giving back to what you're supposed to do. So I honor you for that. And I thank you for being that person and being that example to all of us.
Well, thank you. It's such a joy, Elizabeth, and I'm so grateful for the connection that we have. Thank you for everything you do. It's breathtaking to see. It's exciting, and how you're empowering everyone, including me. I love your book. I love what you do. It's just beautiful. So thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. And we will do something again in the future. Everybody, check out her books and all of her free stuff. Jump on her lives if you need a shot in the arm and encouragement. She's always there to bring it. Get to know her. I know a lot of my audience has done that since our first video. So Catherine, thank you again. I send you a virtual hug. Have a wonderful week, everybody, and we will talk to you guys next week.
Thank you for listening to Master Your Mindset Radio. Before you go, if you want to be part of a free online community of like-minded individuals for support, resources, and inspiration as you conquer your limiting beliefs and pursue your purpose, go to elizabethnader.com/community. That's elizabethnader.com/community, or search for Master Your Mindset Academy private group on Facebook. Looking forward to seeing you online.